In my last video, I asked you to find 3 specific numbers: your revenue, your gross margin percentage, and your floor margin. Some of you actually did that, and right now you may be looking at a number that is lower than you expected or way lower than it needs to be. So what does that actually mean? Here's what I've learned from working inside real living businesses. The exact same low margin can mean 2 completely different things. And your very next move depends entirely on which situation you're in. If you get this wrong, you'll be wasting months fixing the wrong problem. You will raise your price when the real issue is somewhere else entirely. Or even worse, you will keep grinding away at systems and efficiency while the real flaw in your business goes completely untouched. So today, I'm going to give you the one question that tells you exactly where you stand. And I'll share 2 real stories to show you what each situation looks like from the inside. So let's get into it. When your margin is low, before you change your price, cut expenses, or buy fancy software, you need to answer this question. Is there money coming in? I don't mean profit. I don't mean healthy margin. I mean, is there real revenue? Is there enough demand that your business is actually making sales, even if that cash completely disappears before it hits your pocket? Why does this matter? Because the answer divides every low margin business into 2 completely different groups, and they need totally different strategies. If your answer is yes, there is real money coming in, then you have a business we can fix. The demand is there. People want what you sell, and they're willing to pay for it. The problem is the gap between the money coming in and the profit you actually keep. The gap has a name, it has clear cause, it has clear solutions as well. Pricing, cost of goods, expenses, systems. These are the layers we're going to work through together on this channel, starting in the very next video. But if your answer is no or barely, if your business makes just enough to cover a few bills and nothing more, then no pricing tweak will save it. No software will save it. The problem is much further upstream. The core demand is not there for the business module you have. And the honest work in this situation is different. It's not about fixing operations. It's about fixing the structure. And it starts by looking at it directly. So 2 categories, 1 question: is there money coming in? Now, here's the catch. Most business owners cannot answer that question clearly. Not because they don't have the data, but because looking at it clearly feels incredibly uncomfortable. And our brains are very good at protecting us from discomfort. There is a well-known research on how humans make decisions called loss aversion. It found that the pain of losing feels much bigger than the joy of winning. In other words, the fear of finding out something deeply wrong feels worse than staying in the dark. Because of that, instead of looking clearly, most owners stay in a financial fog. They know the revenue is or may not be there. They know their profit should be higher, but they don't sit down to trace exactly where the money is leaking out. Because finding out means making a choice. It means having to change something. A 2023 study conducted by Xero across thousands of small businesses found that over 60% have faced severe cash flow issues and are highly impacted by the changes in the economy. The problems the study found come from different places: late payments, rising expenses, pricing that does not cover your time, or a business module that costs more to run than customers want to pay. We can see the symptoms are the same, but it requires different fixes. The only way to know which one you have is to look. And to do that, you have to step back. You have to see your business as a business rather than an extension of who you are as a person. I know it's incredibly hard, especially when you build it with everything you had. Let me show you exactly what each category looks like in the real world. Case number 1. I worked with a business owner who had been operating for 19 months. He had a real business, real team, real customers, and a very strong revenue. When we finally sat down and looked at the numbers together, the revenue across 19 months was over $800,000. $800,000. There is real demand. The market loved what they were selling. Then we calculated the net profit. $73,000 total across 19 months. He stared at that number for a long time. Then he looked up and said, "That's less than I was making as an employee." Think about that. Less than a normal full-time salary for 19 months of carrying all the stress, risk, and responsibility of being the owner. If a company offered you a job with those terms, you would call that exploitation. So why? Why do we write the exact same contract for ourselves? Now, back to the 73K net profit. Here's what the number was actually saying. It was not telling him to close the business. It was telling him that something between the $800,000 revenue and the $73,000 left over was broken. It could be pricing, costs, or expenses leaking out unnoticed. The same problem found by the research Zero in 2023. It looked bad, I know. However, every single of those layers is fixable. And because the real demand was there, this business was absolutely worth the work to fix it. So this is group 1. There is income. Now, case 2. This is about a business I owned myself years ago. A handmade children's clothing brand. I built it completely from scratch. I was the designer, the sewer, the customer service, the manager, the marketer, everything. I mastered SEO, got the website to page 1 of Google, and I knew exactly what my costs were. The product was beautiful and people used to compliment it a lot, everywhere. But the revenue wasn't there in the way the business module needed it to be. The problem wasn't the product. It wasn't because the prices were wrong or whatever. After 10 months of operation, I found out that the positioning was actually the problem. The product was too expensive for impulsive buyer, and the brand wasn't established enough for premium shoppers. So there was no margin calculation that could save that situation I was in. No systems, no automation, no software. The problem was entirely upstream, and it wasn't worth it to keep spending money and energy to break through a market full of fast fashion and very low prices. Getting real financial clarity made me see that, and as painful as it was, Seeing the truth allowed me to build something else that actually could work. It was not the end, it was the start of something else. And this is what means to be a business owner. We must be capable of putting ourselves away from the business to be able to make the right decision, even if it's painful. As you could see, two businesses, same symptom, low margins, but completely different problems and completely different next steps. So which group are you in? Based on my journey from fog to clarity, I built a free tool called The Business You Meant to Build to help you stop guessing, made specifically for this moment, and I want to share it with you. It's not a spreadsheet or a generic quiz. It's actually a structured diagnostic tool designed to help you figure it out exactly what your numbers are trying to tell you. Is there a real business here that just needs better execution, or is there something deeper in the way? The link is in the description below this video. Start there before you make any changes in your business, because the upcoming videos on this channel go deep into the fixable categories: pricing, expenses, systems, sales, layer by layer. And all of that work assumes there is real business underneath that just needs to be run better. I'm Matos. My background is in organizational psychology. I run real businesses. If this video gave you some clarity today, subscribe. New videos every week, and I'll see you in the next one.